Feeling burnt out? Feeling uninspired? Well, tough toenails, dude. I'm over here busting my butt writing anime reviews all day. Sorry about that. This is AniMay18, your daily dose of anime every day in May. Maybe I just need to cool my head before we talk about the slice of life comedy, Barakamon. I want to feel sympathetic for Seishu Honda, the protagonist of Barakamon, because I deeply understand how difficult it can be to separate your identity and self-worth from your art. In the face of harsh criticism, it's really hard not to take it personally. It really makes you question who you are and what your purpose is when you've devoted so much of your time and effort into a piece and you put yourself out there only to be told it wasn't enough. And then there's always someone better than you, whether that person seemingly has endless natural talent or an even stronger work ethic than you, and all those feelings make you wonder what the point of it all is. If I'm just doing this to be better than others and get recognition, then I'm always going to fall short, so why even bother? I've struggled with those feelings for years through school, but I never let it resort to blows. The problem with Sei is that despite being a passionate, dedicated, up-and-coming calligrapher, he's mired with mediocrity and is a violent narcissist. He doesn't take care of himself and he works to the point of total exhaustion, but he never strives to improve and expects to be praised for it. He's also an antisocial coward with hardly any natural charisma, and yet, this is our protagonist, the lens through which Barakamon is told. Thankfully, the entire point of the show is to send this pompous loser to a remote island village as a form of immersion therapy to break down his terrible traits. Instead of a quiet, rural retreat to clear his head, Sei's constantly assaulted on all sides by nosy neighbors, pushy teens, and rambunctious children, and everyone calls him Sensei. Barakamon is an episodic slice-of-life comedy where Sensei tries to get some work done on his calligraphy and keeps getting interrupted by the locals, particularly the precocious little girl Naru. Naru is basically the lifeblood of the show and is at the center of most of the comedy, as well as opening Sensei's eyes to the life lessons of each episode. The importance of community, taking care of yourself, knowing when to choose your battles, etc. I really like her personality and character design. She reminds me of an older and more hyperactive version of Yotsuba. By the way, when are we going to get a real anime adaptation of that? Anyway, the magic of Yotsuba is that Yotsuba is a fully realized 5-year-old. Probably the most realistic and charming 5-year-old in any fiction I've ever read. She's precocious, naive, and imaginative, but she acts and more importantly talks like a 5-year-old. And there's a distinction. I've tried to write 5-year-old characters, and let me tell you, it's not easy unless you're surrounded by real 5-year-olds. It's a very specific mindset that's hard to recreate for most adults. Naru is super cute and funny. She doesn't know everything, but she talks with a lot of authority, just like little kids do. She's optimistic and pushy, and is the kind of person who asks forgiveness before permission. All good qualities of convincing child characters. The thing about Barakamon is that it's weirdly sexual and adult with a lot of its humor. Not in a self-referential Shin-chan sort of way, but I guess in a way that's eerily true to real-life kids. Much like Shin-chan, a lot of the humor comes from child characters mentioning adult topics like S&M or a fascination with gay romance. Naru is played off as just parroting what she hears without understanding the meaning of the dirty slang she uses, but then these other girls are supposed to be 8th graders. Everyone in this show is written much older than they're supposed to be. And that brings me back to Yotsuba. Yotsuba picks up weird lingo all the time, but the funniest part about talking to 5-year-olds is just going along with their insane train of thought. Yotsuba will talk to people as if they were with her hours ago when she saw something on TV, and it'll be a complete non sequitur and they'll have no idea what she's talking about. Her body language is also hysterical. The way Azuma Kyohiko puts in the effort to draw Yotsuba do something weird like a random headstand or wrap her coat around her legs in a crowded airport goes a long way in making her a believable little girl. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I was expecting Barakamon to be a little more grounded in the antics of taking care of a little girl, but instead the show is kind of a generic, slightly dirty comedy. I don't really believe the kids and middle schoolers are that young, and Sensei isn't super likable for being the only straight man in the whole show. That's straight man in the comedy sense, not the, I like the character designs, but why did the two main guys need to look identical? I honestly thought this guy was Sensei in a flashback the first time I saw him, and why the heck does his mom have this creepy crush on him for no reason? There's just a lot about this show that doesn't add up for me, and it doesn't go far enough in any one direction. It's not as cute or charming in its humor like Yotsuba and it's not dirty enough to be shocking like Shin-chan. Much like Sei's artistic rut, Barakamon is pretty good for what it is, but overall a middling experience that leaves a lot to be desired. Maybe the warmer weather is just getting my head and I'm overworking myself, but I'm going to take the rest of the day off and come back refreshed for the next installment of AniMay18.